Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds.
Hey everybody, this is Evan and John, and you're listening to the Boomer and X Show.
Hello, everybody, and happy holidays, happy New Year
Happy Christmas, or Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
to everybody,
Yep.
ourselves included.
Yes.
We didn't get a Christmas show in. You were a little under the weather.
Is that the reason why?
Yeah.
Huh. I thought it was just because we were just traveling and stuff.
You were under the weather.
Was I?
You were. You were out of work. You were gone.
Oh, yeah.
You were.
Yeah, I sure was. Yeah.
That seems like a long time
It
ago.
does, man.
Well, that was just last week.
I've been to Texas and back in Louisiana and back again since then. So.
Yeah, it does seem like a long time ago. It was just last week. So anyway, we didn't get to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I don't think we did that on the 17th because we thought we were going to be here.
The 17th. Okay, yeah. But this is our what you probably know the exact day, but what's our annual?
Yeah. So on the 20th of this month, we celebrated the 1-year anniversary of the first release of a Boomer and X episode podcast.
Yep.
So happy birthday to us.
Yeah, and what we want to do is on our next non-sports shorts episode, we're going to put a bunch of
Bloopers and outtakes. Yeah, and we've been listening to them, and they're kind of funny.
Some of them I think they're just funny to us because we know the situation.
You're right.
Like 2 a.m, and I'm like, can't figure out my computer and just start yelling at it. But
well, there's things where we're just ruffling through papers looking for notes and all kind of stuff. So
and you're like, and I'm over here like now. Back with the continuous paper search with John Springer. Yeah, I mean it's pretty good, but we'll put that on our next actual non-sports shorts episode. But happy anniversary, John.
Happy anniversary, Evan.
I think we've come a long way. I was just listening to our initial, our introduction, and the conversation's always been good, but the sound quality is way better. And obviously, we've invested in
We have invested.
I mean, we've got sponsorships and been.
It's been a good year.
Yeah.
It's been an eventful year, and we look forward to year number 2, which this will be the first release of our second year.
So, like we said, we're doing a sports shorts today. Our topics we're going to cover are LSU and Texas Tech bowl game. What was that? The Advocare?
Yeah, Advocare Texas Bowl. Yeah.
The We Don't Care Texas Bowl. We're going to recap some of the NFL games, focusing on some of those upsets. Chip Kelly news with him getting fired, and the way you worded this. Each of us pick our top 5 sports stories of the year.
Of 2015,
yes.
Yeah.
And then 5 is, what we want to do is facts of the Super Bowl 1 through 10. Did we talk about this on the last episode?
I don't know if we did or not, but Super Bowl 50 is coming up in the first Sunday in February. So
we kind of want to hit the history.
Right. As we work towards the Super Bowl, we want to just briefly touch on some of the history of the first 49 and the evolution of the event and the things like advertising dollars and
it's pretty cool.
Super, and halftime entertainment, so on and so forth. So just
like
we're gonna devote a segment to the Super Bowl until the Super Bowl's actually played, and then we have the live broadcast that we're going to do of the Super Bowl.
Yep. The NFL said we could do it.
Yeah, we've been in contact with them.
They said go for it. The more the merrier.
Yeah.
We make enough money, sure. All right, so let's get right on into it. I'm going to start our timer right now. John, you're on the clock.
Yeah, last night, Tuesday night, the 29th of December, LSU Texas Tech in the bowl. Now, you predicted LSU to win this game.
I did.
And I predicted Texas Tech. I had not really seen Texas Tech play.
Well, their defense.
Oh my God.
There were some plays
terrible.
where the offensive line gave Leonard Fournette 4-foot holes on his left and right. He could have picked any route and taken it. And
and there was a time in my life where I would have been just thrilled to death over a 56-27 bowl win by LSU. I mean, that was the most points they've ever scored in a bowl. And, there were some other records set. But given things that I'm not going to really rehash right now and how I feel about the program and Les Miles and his unwillingness to make some adjustments and losing out on big games, and this was a 7-5 Big 12 opponent with a Big 12 defense, I'm not that excited about it. I'm just not.
I think the main reason why I said the We Don't Care Bowl was because 6 weeks before this bowl game, they were number 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And then here they are playing in this. They're supposed to be playing Friday, not
right.
Not
right.
last night.
They're supposed to be playing on New Year's Eve, Thursday night. Yeah, and last night and again against an opponent that went 7-5 and 7-6 after the beating. Now, we'll say this. Here's what really made me happy. After the snub from the committee and the voters and everybody involved with the Heisman Award, Heisman Trophy, I am so glad that Leonard Fournette had a big 5
Did he
touchdown
break the
game.
rush yards? Because I know he needed like 2 something.
No, he needed, I think, 259, and he got 212.
Yeah.
Well, to reach 2,000. But and keep in mind, this really sucks.
And that's with missing a game.
They missed a game.
Yep.
They missed a game. That first game got lightninged out against Magnice. Obviously, he would have gotten another 47 yards.
I say he got it. It's in my record book.
Well, and here's what else is a shame for all of the people that couldn't. They were all suffocating each other to get on his bandwagon, and then they all broke an ankle jumping off of it so fast in November.
I think he had something to say about the whole situation and hasn't until last night on that field. I'm glad he did. And
he did. Again, I mean, as I was watching it, and I went out with a friend to a local sports bar and watched it, and I'm like, you can just tell this isn't an SEC defense. I mean, it just.
No, I did see where they were excited about the bowl because they get to play a team. I think what is their ranking on? I mean, what is their record on non-conference bowl games?
Well, all bowl games are non-conference.
I'm sorry, non-conference teams.
It's good.
It's really good. I think it's like good. 20-something to 2 or something like that.
Yeah, and it's good because most of the time you play them early in the year, and most of them are not good teams. Now, LSU has recently played it. They usually play one quality non-conference opponent a year. I mean, a real good one. And, for instance, next year they open up the season in Lambeau Field against Wisconsin.
Yeah, we've been looking forward to that game since it was announced back in, 2013?
Yeah, like 3 years ago. Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago. I would love to go to that game.
Yeah.
But, look, congratulations on winning a game. LSU will end up somewhere in the top 18, 19, 20, 21 when it's all said and done. But given the talent that LSU brings in, that I just don't think that's acceptable. But I am really, really glad that Leonard Fournette had a big, big game. I really am.
Yeah, I think they were excited to play a offense that they're not used to seeing, I think, and they were playing with some more energy than I thought they would.
Same here.
I was thinking it was going to be like we don't care, let's just win this game.
They did bring a little more energy to it than I thought they would, and again, kudos to them, and I'm happy for the kids, the players. Again, regardless of my thoughts and feelings toward Les Miles and the LSU administration, those kids could have gone anywhere and they wanted to play ball, and they chose to come to LSU.
Now, real quick, you were talking about some of the changes that they're trying to implement that they say they're going to do next year.
They say.
Well, Cam Cameron was down on the field.
He was down on the sidelines instead of the press box.
Is that to, I don't know, what's the significance of that?
I like it. I think it just gives him more personal contact if he needs to have it with his quarterback or with some other players.
Yeah.
But here's my thought. Anything that they try to implement next year will go well early in the season, and then Les Miles will take back the reins and the control and go conservative when push comes to shove against teams like Alabama and Ole Miss and in Florida, and he'll play to not lose instead of to win. That's my guess.
Okay. So last week in the NFL, we had some pretty crazy upsets, and Not there was one that wasn't really an upset, but the score was just insane. That was the Cardinals.
The Cardinals beating the Packers 38-8.
Yeah, and that wasn't necessarily an upset. I would have picked the Cardinals to win, especially the way the Packers are playing, but not by 30.
Not by 30. No, I agree. And I think what it does. Well, first of all, I think when we've talked about MVP, and just real quickly, it was Cam and maybe Tom and Carson Palmer was kind of out there on the edges. Maybe it's more of a three-way conversation now and less of a two-way, or maybe it's a two-way between Cam and Carson.
Yeah.
But suffice it to say, Arizona is playing as well as anybody in the league.
They're playing some pro ball for sure.
They definitely are.
They're playing like they want to be in the Super Bowl for sure.
They're looking good, and look, seeing how it looks like my Steelers and certainly the Saints will not make it, and I don't think the Steelers will anyway. We'll get to them in a minute. I will pull for Arizona for a couple of reasons. My grandson's chosen team, and they have they have several former LSU Tigers on it, so I would like to see. Of the teams that it looks like is going to make it, I'd like to see the Cardinals go all the way if possible.
Now, another one that wasn't really an upset, the Saints beating the Jaguars. That was 38-27. They were at home.
Right.
But Drew Brees played with a torn plantar fascia.
Now, I don't know what that is, but your wife who
sports medicine
says that
he should have been having trouble walking, much less playing professional football.
Well, and in the lead up to it, I read about how painful.
They must have wrapped the mess out of his ankle and whole foot.
And he played well. He played extremely well. He threw for over 400 yards.
Yeah. And that that was a great game. It was a good way to see him play the last game at home well. And
I was glad to see that.
They beat a great Jaguars team, and Blake Bortles and Alan Hearns and Allen Robinson. I won't say great.
They're 5-10 now.
Okay, but they're playing good.
They had
offensively.
They had played a little better lately.
Good point.
They had played a little better lately.
Yeah, I rebut that.
Yes,
great.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. I want to ask you this. Rate the upsets. Jets 26, Patriots 20, Falcons 20, Panthers 13. Ravens 20, Steelers 17, and Rams 23, Seahawks 17 in Seattle. Give me your 4 through 1.
Okay, I'm going to say 1 would be Ravens beating the Steelers.
Okay.
My 2 is Rams beating Seahawks. And then the other 2 are kind of tied for, importance.
So the Falcons knocking the Panthers from the ranks of the undefeated, you kind of...
It doesn't. Other than the record,
right.
That's all. That's the only thing that. It's not like they didn't make the playoffs now because of that or anything crazy like that. So I don't.
So from an impact standpoint, just not from a shock value standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go shock value.
And so that's
your shock value number 4 Patriots. With me is the Jets. Number 4 is the Jets beating the Patriots. It was in New York. And the Patriots are like a mass unit. They just continue to get, and I can't believe they're healthy enough to make a good run in the playoffs. But they do have home field as long as they win on Sunday.
Yeah.
So that helps them.
And that game went into overtime.
Yeah.
And so they were saying why in the world did he kick the ball? They won the toss and kicked the ball, and people have been saying that was a stupid call. Of course, hindsight is 20/20. His reason was, we weren't moving the ball well, and we had the best kicker in the NFL.
And I agree with him.
Yeah.
Because he took more of the, because it wasn't a high scoring game, so you kind of weren't of the mind that the first time the other team had the ball, the first time the Jets had the ball, they were going to score a touchdown, which is the only way this hurts you.
Yeah.
And he didn't think that was going to happen,
I didn't,
so he
no
kicked.
One did.
I don't fault him. He went the route. He played it like it was a college game where you want the other team to have the ball first.
The only reason I do fault him for that is because they weren't at home. That's something you do at home.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
If he did it at home, I'd be for it. And if he lost, fine. Good try. Yeah. But that's something you don't do on the road. And you get that home team on you. And so.
I agree.
What's your 3-2-1?
My number 3 is the Rams beating the Seahawks in Seattle. It was the Seahawks' third loss in Seattle this year, and the Rams. And we've talked about this before. They can lose to crap teams
and beat
good teams.
Monsters.
So that's my number 3. Number 2 in terms of shock value, but it's number 1 in terms of wow, my goodness, was the Steelers getting swept by the Ravens this year, and the Ravens have 3 wins against the rest of the NFL and 2 wins against the Steelers.
The Steelers had everything to play for. The last time they met with them, they lost, like you just said.
Revenge.
But that was without revenge. That was without Big Ben.
Yep.
And so you figure, all right, we got revenge. They have playoff hopes,
yep.
and why wouldn't you not want to beat this team? And you have every reason to beat them.
I don't get it. And I've said this before. I'm not crazy about Mike Tomlin as a coach, and I have to look there for the issue. But here's why I know there's not even point in talking about that. The Steelers have had 3 coaches since 1969.
Yeah,
he ain't going anywhere.
Yeah,
he is not
firing.
No,
people.
They do not fire. And I get the deal about stability, but I'm not happy about Mike Tomlin. I've got to hang this on him. And number 1 for shock value is the Falcons beating the Panthers 20-13. First of all, the Panthers undefeated. They were going for perfection, but just 2 weeks earlier they had beat Atlanta 38-0, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So, and again, it kind of takes care of, we have, somebody else hasn't gone through an entire season and postseason undefeated. So I think that's the biggest shock value upset of the last weekend.
So, not talking about an upset. I don't know what the spread was between the Bengals and Broncos. I just wanted to hit it real quick. They won in overtime at home.
The Broncos.
Yeah, 17-20. And it was a pretty good game, but the reason that game was significant is because it threw all kind of playoff stuff out of whack. Like, for instance, if Bengals would have won, Houston would have now been the division champion, and threw all kind of stuff out of whack. And who else was it that was...
Kansas City, I think, would have been in a position to possibly win the division after starting 0-5.
And it was something about the strength of victory that would have made Houston jump.
Okay.
So,
right.
We could get into that on a different episode, how that's... Because you always hear strength of schedule is the deciding factor most times. But then strength of victory, like who did you beat and how bad did you beat them?
And other than... I think if it's when you're talking about playoff scenarios and tiebreakers... I think head-to-head is first, and then if it's in your division, it's division record. But if you're trying to get a wild card just in the conference, it's conference record. So now you're getting down to the strength of victory. You're farther and farther down on the pecking order. But it was an entertaining game with 2 good teams, and it was played in about 10-degree weather.
Yeah,
and it went into overtime. So. But hey, the Denver people, that's a hardy crowd. They can stomach 10-degree weather.
So you went for shock value with
Atlanta beating Carolina. Yeah. And so speaking of shock value, last night the news came down that Chip Kelly had been fired as head coach and whatever other GM, I guess, but certainly fired as head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And we've talked about this a little bit before. I think we even said that he was probably going to be a college to NFL flameout. Here's what surprises me about this, that it happened this year, because I thought...
He has 2 years left on his contract.
Well, and I thought they would give it 1 more year to play out, but you know what I think?
He had 2 good years. I mean, he had 2 good years.
Well, they made the playoffs only in his first year.
But last year wasn't a terrible year, though.
But more than the record, here's what I think it was. His players gave up on him. He didn't have the confidence of his players.
That's true. I think they gave him too much power.
I believe that's an experiment that will not get tried again anytime soon.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree with that.
And why? I mean, why did they think that was a good idea?
I don't know. I can't altogether say without hindsight that it was a bad idea. I can't. I mean, yeah, it went badly, and we can say now that it was a bad idea, but I don't know that going into it. I kind of like the fact that a coach is going to be able to make personnel moves because he's going to be the one coaching the players.
So, like I said, he had 2 years left on his contract.
Right.
This thing right here says, this is on CBS Sports, they say that means $13 million. The Eagles are on the hook for $13 million, but it's possible that the 2 sides agreed to mutually part ways like Jim Harbaugh did last year.
Right.
So they might not be looking, that's good for them and real good for him because he can start looking for a new job now. if that's the case.
All right. Do you think he does?
Does he what? Get a new job?
Does he start looking immediately? What do you think the future looks like?
He's got suitors a many. I promise you that.
Really?
Yes.
Name something.
Well, as far as the NFL, I know 2 teams are going to want him, the Titans and the Browns.
Now, are you surmising or is this something you've read?
This is something I am surmising.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, because Black Monday hadn't even come yet.
Right. I'm going to say this. Because of the nasty relationship with the players and things like DeMarco Murray going over his head and the discontent, I'll tell you that I don't think I'll be real surprised.
DeMarco Murray had to go over his head though.
But that's the whole point. You don't want that in your organization.
No,
you don't want that going on.
That's what I'm saying. That was such a bad idea because all right, if to go over the coach, who do you go to?
Well, you go to the owner. But
no, you go to the GM. And then the GM, then the owner. Okay. He was both coach and GM, so he had to go over his head. But
the fact that someone felt the need to go above the coach, whoever it is, the coach and or GM, to the owner, and other discontent. And we heard from other players going back to his first year. Actually, there were players that left saying he's practicing us to death.
That's true.
I'll tell you this right now. I'll be real surprised if he's the head coach of somebody in the NFL at the beginning of the 2016 season. I'll be surprised.
You don't think he's going to be in the NFL next year?
I'll be surprised if he's the head coach.
I say he's head coach in the Titans next year.
I don't think so.
Or the Browns.
I'll be surprised. I think he either goes back to college, and I don't consider that all that likely, or he latches on somewhere as an OC, and I'm not sure it would be next year. Because there have been other failed head coaches that latched on as coordinators later. Mm-hmm. Wade Phillips was the head coach at one time. I'm almost sure it was the Buffalo Bills. It didn't go well, but now he's the defensive coordinator of the Denver Broncos, and he has a great defensive mind. I can see Chip Kelly ended up being an OC somewhere, but maybe not until a year has lapsed.
Is he more to be an OC or a DC?
Oh, it'd definitely be an OC.
He's
definitely
an offensive
Oh,
guy?
absolutely.
Okay.
Look what he did at Oregon. Yeah,
that's true.
So I don't know. You're on board thinking that he'll be a head coach somewhere in 2016.
Yeah,
and I think if he's anywhere in 2016, it'll be an OC, and that may not happen until 2017. But we'll see how it plays out.
Another thing.
Hell, I picked Texas Tech to win last night. So
another thing that the CBS Sports says is that the Eagles player had no idea he had been fired. What do you think of that? I mean, I'm sure some of them were confused because, like I said, they still have a game left, but I mean, I don't know. DeMarco Murray, I wonder what he thought. I haven't heard him say anything yet. I'm sure it's going to be pompous.
Yeah, well, hopefully not. And here's the way I think it should go: the players should be faced directly if a coach decides to leave, because he's the one that has the face-to-face relationship with the players. If he decides to leave and go somewhere else, he deserves to tell them man-to-man, face-to-face, look, I'm going somewhere else. But if he's fired, I don't know that
you would think that they didn't mutually part ways if it was that type of environment. Like, okay, I'll leave, next week or now, but let me talk to my guys. I mean, they had no idea, so that's kind of confusing.
I know. To me, it's more of a problem if the coach leaves and doesn't meet with his players and tell them.
Well, I don't know if he didn't meet with them, but it says they had no idea he got fired.
Right, and I don't. And to me, that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal because it came from the ownership. And, is the ownership going to sit face-to-face with the players and say, hey, look, I'm firing your coach? No.
No, they're going to let the next coach do that.
Well, the next coach doesn't have to do it. All right, so retrospect.
Well, real quick, do we know who's replacing him?
No, we don't know permanently. I mean, there's going to be
there's an interim.
There's an interim coach that was on the staff.
Okay.
I think it's probably the OC, but I'm not sure. So we're looking back now, and Evan and I have each chosen what we consider to be our top sports stories of 2015.
I don't know how we're going to fit this in 5 minutes, but let's do it.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll start.
Okay.
Number 5, a sport I hate, but a group I love. U.S. women's soccer team wins the World Cup.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I wrote it down, and I had like 7 on there and wanted to scratch one off. So it was significant.
It was significant, but for one reason is they won the World Cup, and for whatever reason, and I can't tell you why, American men playing international soccer irritates me. American women playing international soccer I think is great, and I don't even know why.
Why?
I don't know why. But I'll say
why
this.
Don't you know why?
They and they had huge viewership.
Yeah, I did see that they had
that. And
I saw something, and it was not related to viewership, but how much they pay them. I think the minimum is like $4,000, and the most is $36,000.
Well, the women don't make anything compared to the men, but they generated TV numbers.
And
so why?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, all right. I didn't put them in any specific order as importance, but daily fantasy sports.
A lot of news broke. Well, first of all, that has become a huge thing over the past couple of years.
Exactly.
Before everything kind of started to go sour with that, you couldn't watch an NFL game without seeing 30 commercials for either FanDuel or DraftKings.
FanDuel and DraftKings, that's the two big ones. I don't know. It's a huge deal because you don't have to commit to a whole season and do week-to-week stuff. And
I like the format, and I wish it was available in Louisiana.
Now, here's
part.
a big thing that people are saying. It's based on skill, so it's not gambling, right?
Yeah, sure.
Do you agree?
I believe there is some skill. Just like playing fantasy football, and we'll
see. I believe there's skill in blackjack.
There is some,
but that's gambling.
The way they define it to keep them out of certain states is that they're saying it's nothing but luck, which is just wrong. Buying a lottery ticket is nothing but luck.
Yes.
But and I'll say that when the story broke, if it's just skill, then if it's just luck, then there is no value to quote inside information.
And they had a lawsuit on that, some kind of guy. Yeah.
I'd like to see everything get ironed out and for the regulations to get set in, and I'd like to have it available to me.
The main reason I bring it up is because it's not new per se, but it's got so many big. I mean,
the NFL
they each made $1 billion this year.
Well, the NFL has a stake in one of them.
Yep.
So
they're totally scrutinized every day on different things. So it's a huge news story. So that's my number 5.
Okay, my number 4, Kansas City Royals back-to-back World Series appearances, and this year they won in 5 games against the Mets, coming from behind in dramatic fashion.
So you did soccer and baseball.
Baseball. Yes.
Way to open your eyes to the sports.
You know what? I've got another one in here that's going to surprise you even more.
Okay.
Later on.
But yeah, that was pretty cool. Kansas City going back to back. I definitely picked them to win this year for going last year, and they have the same squad, and so they ended up getting it.
And I like the fact that it's a small market team without a lot of budget.
Yep.
I like
that. And that has a lot to do with the way they did that evening out or the profit sharing or whatever they call it. But they are a product of that rule or whatever the.
And I think it's interesting that it was the Mets they beat, a regular underachiever who happened to be there. What's your number 4?
Deflategate, something you could not go through 2015. Something you could not go through 2015 for a week without hearing it at least once.
Yes,
I had to have it. Brady, is he still going to get fined or is he still going to get suspended?
I think it's over. And here's
like squash. Don't talk about it again.
I just think it's done. I think it's done. I just think it's over. I think it's done. I think it was done when that judge said
put him on his fantasy team.
It's done. Let me just tell you real quick what I limited my personal best 5 to: accomplishments on the field of play.
Okay.
And I didn't tell you I was going to do that, but I intentionally wasn't going to put anything like deflate footballs or DraftKings like that because I wanted to recognize accomplishments in
on the field
competition. Yes, on the field or the track or whatever.
Okay. That being said, what's your number 3?
Division I football institutes a 14 playoff for the first time, and Ohio State comes out of nowhere. Even though I'm not a big Urban Meyer fan, they come out of nowhere, win the semifinals, win the finals with a third-string quarterback, and win the national championship game. It's my number 3.
So that it's significant because it was the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. Not necessarily the way it was won.
The way it was won, if there are 10 significant points, the way it was won is 3, and the fact that it was the first 14 playoff is 7.
Okay.
So
my number 3.
Yes.
Yes, 3. Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao.
Okay.
The fight of the century or the battle of greatness, whatever they claimed it was called, it's like watching a soccer match. Who can run the most?
Yeah,
and that's my personal watching it. What I thought, and a lot of other people. It was show up and pick up your check with a pretty face is what they wanted to do.
If it had been a great fight, like say Thomas Hitman Hurd versus Sugar Ray Leonard,
didn't see it.
Well, because it was in the early to mid '80s, probably early '80s, before you were even born. If it had been a great fight, then it
would still have made my list.
It possibly would have at least made my honorable mention. But as it was, being noted because it sucked wasn't.
Well, the reason I mostly put it on there was, and this is off the mat, I guess you could say, $410 million in revenue is what this got.
Well, sure,
the most in pay-per-view history,
right?
And it was a suck fest.
Yep.
So,
duly noted and worth mentioning, certainly.
Give me your number 2.
Number 2. Here's the shocker for you. Are you sitting down? Yeah, you are. Golden State Warriors winning the NBA championship with a, quote, small and unathletic team, and following that up with winning their first 24 games of the next season to set an NBA record. And as we speak, they have still only lost the one game, which was the back end of a back-to-back play into overtime and then travel halfway across the country.
Yeah, they were just pooped.
So I'm not an NBA fan. I still haven't watched any of it. I didn't watch any of it on Christmas Day, but I will recognize it as greatness. I got to appreciate. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if I'll go greatness because how do you think they would match up against the Bulls of the mid-90s, early to mid-90s?
It would be the Hoop Nation. What did they call the fight of the century? The game of the century.
Suckfest of the century.
It would be amazing.
I got my number 1.
I got my number 1.
Okay, give it to me.
No, this is my number 2.
Okay.
University of Missouri protest. Now, we did hit this when it was going on, and not much more came out of it, but some racial stuff happening on campus and off campus. A kid and a group decided to hunger strike, and then the team got involved, and they were telling the president to step down, and he did, because they would be fined $3 million. I mean,
if they
probably
boycotted
more.
a game
Exactly.
against Brigham Young,
yes.
and not played. Yeah,
we've hit why it was big, but it's definitely one of the the big things that happened in sport this year is because where does that go from here? And we will see in the future. With Joe, number 1.
My number 1. Take a guess.
Is it something you like?
It's something I love.
American Pharaoh.
Yeah.
I was wondering where in my list it would be.
Yeah, American Pharaoh winning the first horse racing Triple Crown since 1978, which is a gap of 37 years. And then topping that off with a victory in what didn't even exist in 1978, and that's the Breeders' Cup Classic mile and a quarter, where he actually faced and defeated older horses by a final margin of 6.5 lengths.
So when Sports Person of the Year came out, it was Serena Williams, and we did a thing talking about how it should have been him. There was something going around that he might get some kind of award.
Well, I think it was, I believe Sports Illustrated did come out with maybe accomplishment of the year. It's kind of how they, I guess, hedged their bet.
Since you're not a person, here's your trophy.
and I'll certainly give it my accomplishment of the year because it is so difficult to do, so rare. And
I said this when we talked about Serena. She didn't win all 4. That would have been Sports Person of the Year worthy. Now she did go 53-3 or 56-3 or whatever, but still, 53-3. That's insane in singles.
Well, it is, and it's but and you made this point that then it's not a lifetime achievement award. This, and we're talking about this year.
She had a great year.
She's had a great career.
Yeah, I think they based it more for a career than what he did in this year. It hadn't been done in 37 years, and he's done.
On rarity.
Yeah.
Rarity. And so he ended up with his career on the track, 9 wins and 11 starts. 7 or 8 of those were Grade 1 races, and career winnings of $8.65 million in only 11 starts. So, American Pharaoh gets my number 1.
Getting too excited. I got to calm you down with my number 1. Pulled up the wiki on her because I don't know too much of her backstory. The head kick, or the kick to the head heard around the world, Ronda Rousey and Holly Holmes fight. That fight was huge, of course, because Ronda Rousey's undefeated, and like her last 5 fights were like less than 10 seconds or something insane like that. So that's my number 1. I love how it when I pulled up her wiki, it said Ronda Rousey, actress. It first said actress, mixed martial artist, judoka, and then all of her other stuff. So I thought that was pretty funny how it first said actress. But I mean, she has been in 5 movies or. So, yeah, 5 movies.
So all the movies were after she became noted for her sport, right?
Yeah, 2011.
So she is transcending her sport. Yes.
In what way?
Just
in fame or in money?
Well, in all of the above. I mean, she got into movies because she's a fighter.
Yes.
She didn't become a fighter because she was famous for movies.
She's like, oh wow, she's such a good actress. Let's have her in her movies.
She's
in the movies.
She's popular.
Yes.
She's popular. She's attractive.
Yes.
And so she is transcending her sport.
Yeah,
I agree. Look, I couldn't tell you another person in UFC. I couldn't tell you another name other than Ronda and the lady that beat her, Holly Holm.
Okay.
So she's transcending the sport.
Yes. And the matchup has, he's got his what's his name? Dana White?
I don't know.
Yeah. Dana White's got his pencil sharp, ready to pencil that date in. The rematch is definitely going to happen.
And you will go see it.
I'm going to go to Vegas and watch it.
Oh, well, I'm going with you. I'm going with you.
She's going to get beat again, I bet.
The next one won't be in Australia, will it?
I don't know. It might. I hope it's in Vegas.
Yeah.
But that's going to be in probably summer, so we can talk about that this time next year when we're wrapping up 2016. When we say she didn't get kicked in the head this time, she got punched in the nose and knocked out.
Well, we'll see how it goes. Moving forward now and looking forward as we work our way toward, this is our final topic on this show, aside from our little mad dash.
Well, that one was like 3 topics long.
Yeah,
so.
That's okay. This is making up for not being here last week. We're gonna take a look as we move toward Super Bowl 50 in early January. We're gonna just kind of hit a few little things about the preceding 49 Super Bowls, 1 through 10, 11 through 20, so on and so forth, as we work our way. Evan, you came up with something interesting a while ago with regards to advertising cost.
Okay, January 15th, 1967, and you noted the date. January 15th was the Super Bowl.
It's like good 2 to 3 weeks later now. Yes.
Yes, per 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
If you get an ad, in 1967 it was $42,500. That's a lot of money.
$42,500
for 30 seconds.
For 30 seconds.
All right, guess what it is in February 7th, 2016, coming up.
For 30 seconds?
Yes.
I'm going to say 3 million.
Wrong. 5 million.
5
For
million.
30 seconds. If you could do a minute long, that's a $10 million ad.
Wow.
Now, 114,440,000 people watched last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot of people.
So per eye, per viewer, it's not a bad deal.
Obviously not, because that's one of the big things of the Super Bowl. And I don't know when that got started. Do you? With the commercials, watching the commercials.
I think the commercials becoming a big thing that people wanted to pay attention to. For me, my first memory of it is, I'm going to say, the mid-1980s, and the first one that I thinking back on and really remember was the Budweiser frogs, and they made a whole series of those. And
was that a Budweiser?
Well, it was.
Yeah.
But that was the late 90s. I mean, we're talking about pretty good stretch of time between that. But I remember, I'm going to say around 86 or 7, the Budweiser frogs getting started. So
I guess if we're hitting like historical things,
real quick,
one of the things, the halftime show, I think they've always had like a marching band or something, and then it evolved into rock stars and all this. But the one that always pokes out to me, and it might to you too, when Justin Timberlake ripped off Janet Jackson's
the wardrobe malfunction. Oh my God!
Yeah, quote unquote wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah,
that was the big one. Halftime. Now, I want to find something for one of our other episodes on how do they get this halftime. Is there a bidding process? Is there a pick a hat? Pick a name out of a hat, and do they get a lot of sales after these Super Bowls because all the people see them?
I would say yes.
Because
it would be my guess.
Like you said, the way Fox and what are the 3 main
NBC, ones? CBS, Fox, ABC.
Yes. They do a bidding process to get
the
viewers.
Rights. Yeah.
So Do the people who do halftime have to go through the same thing?
I don't know if they pay or they get. I mean,
they get an invite.
Paid. They get paid.
Oh, they get paid.
They get paid,
but then they also get paid after.
Well, sure. I mean, the exposure.
Yeah,
it's the most exposure
I'm sure
you're going
iTunes
to get.
downloads go off the charts.
Yeah, it's the most exposure you're going to get for singing. For
you
10
never do
minutes,
a concert.
15 minutes worth of singing. Certainly.
A concert that 140 million are going to see.
Sure. Yeah.
That's Yep.
Now,
and this year it's going to be Coldplay.
Okay.
I didn't even know they were that big of a group, but I don't know. I mean, you think you got Michael Jackson, Madonna. You know, it's always these big names and Coldplay. I mean, Katy Perry was last year. She has a worldwide following.
Right.
I mean, Coldplay might. I don't know.
I liked it the year that Pittsburgh beat Arizona. Bruce Springsteen was the halftime show. Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, I see something right here. Bruce Springsteen said why he turned down several invitations to perform at the Super Bowl before finally agreeing to appear in Super Bowl XL111.
43.
43. Yep. So,
first ever Super Bowl was played in Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. The second was played in the Orange Bowl in Miami, and they didn't actually call them Super Bowls while they were being played. They were just championship games.
Yeah, the AFL, NFL
yeah.
World Championship game is what it's called.
Yeah. So Green Bay wins the first two. The Jets win the next one against Baltimore, and that one is famous for Joe Namath making the prediction that they would win when they were huge underdogs. Kansas City Chiefs beat the Minnesota Vikings in number 4.
So the Baltimore Colts beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
Okay. The Dallas Cowboys turned around and went another year in a row in number 6 and beat the Miami Dolphins, who then went on a roll, win-win.
Well, in that 1973 one,
yeah,
that was their perfect season.
Yep.
They went 14-0 in the regular season, 3-0 in the playoffs to finish 17-0, beat the Washington Redskins 14-7. Then a year later, they beat the Minnesota Vikings 24-7. Now, notice the Vikings have already shown up twice, and they've gotten beat 23-7 and 24-7.
Hey, man, they keep making it though. And then I was going to say they take a break one year and let the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Dallas Cowboys, which was an awesome matchup.
Well, in number 9 first, Pittsburgh beat Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
So Minnesota is there again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they lost that one, too.
And number 10, and we'll leave it at this one for right now, Pittsburgh beats Dallas 21-17. And so
in the Orange Bowl.
In the Orange Bowl again.
They love playing in
already,
Miami,
this is their 4th one to host out of 10.
Miami?
Yeah.
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 Real quick, do you know, and I know you do, who has the most titles, Super Bowl titles?
That's my Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay, who's second?
I'm going to say that's the Cowboys, probably.
And the 49ers.
And the 49ers, they both have 5. Yeah, Pittsburgh is 6-2. And then, New England has 4. New England has 4. So
Green Bay has 4. And it's got this asterisk beside it, and that means those AFC or AFL.
Yeah,
NFL
there were championship games before they were called the Super Bowl. But so that's the first 10.
Other than just the game results, we're going to try and come up with some little historical
stats
little
little interesting things. Like, for instance, the 2 coldest ones, with the possible exception of one recently played in New York City a few years ago, the 2 coldest ones are actually played in New Orleans.
Really?
Tulane Stadium. Before they played in the Superdome, they were cold. One of them was like 39 degrees and one was like 45.
Wow. So for our Mad Dash, the Boomer and X final results.
Yes, that's right. You know what?
Tell them about that little
didn't go well
mistake.
It didn't. Well, it
hindsight mistake.
Yeah, it didn't go well. We thought we had a juicy matchup with 3 Pittsburgh Steelers on offense going up against one of the worst pass defenses in the league. And yes, it was on the road, but still. And we touched on this in the upset portion late in the show. I still put the same players on the field. If I had the chance.
Well, you said this on there. We get beat 3 out of 7 times. You said we lose 7 out of.
No, I say we win.
We win 7 out of 10
before
times.
the games were ever played, I looked at it and I told you, I said we win this 7 out of 10.
Yep.
And so therefore it means you lose 3 out of 10, and we lost.
Now, what's crazy about that? Not only did we lose, those 3 players who usually get 100 points or around that together didn't even get 20.
It was bad.
Didn't even get 15.
Look, putting that same team on the field in the semifinals we had the highest score in the league for the entire season,
playing a better team than Baltimore.
Yeah. Of course, we got a lot of help from Doug Baldwin and David Johnson.
Yes,
he scored 3 touchdowns the week before.
Night, yeah.
So
that was
we went from scoring about 170 points to scoring 85 or 90, and it just happens. So anyway, the official Boomer and X team was runner up in the league, and it was fun. It was fun. We gave it our best shot. I put the same players out there if I had the decision to make all over again, and it just didn't work out well this time.
So I kind of wanted to put it in our 5 sports stories of the year because this one really stuck out to me. The Nike just signed a lifetime sponsorship deal with LeBron James.
Okay.
Did you know he partnered with them and signed a $90 million contract before graduating high school?
I did not know that.
So he's been with them, for a little while. He, so this lifetime deal, they obviously upped him up, and I was talking about off air, talking about Nike dropping Tiger Woods for cheating on his wife.
Yep.
So I'm assuming, like you brought to me, my attention is there's probably some kind of morality.
There's got to be.
I tried finding the form, with like some bullets, like what he has to do or what he can't do. For instance, like in the NFL, they can't ride motorcycles or.
Well, that's not a morality thing.
It's not a morality thing, but it's one of their clauses.
Well, yeah, that's
one of their major things.
Yeah.
But off the cliff.
There's a lot of money in endorsements. I mean, this goes back to Michael Jordan and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and probably even before that. But it's like everything else associated with sports. It has grown by leaps and bounds over the past 10, 15 years. Certainly.
You wanted to give a shout out to somebody.
The UNC Asheville Bulldogs in basketball went into Georgetown Saturday before last and beat them in basketball. And the reason I wanted to shout them out was because that's my alma mater, UNC Asheville.
Go
Bulldogs.
Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Congratulations to your Bulldogs.
I just wanted to give a shout out to those guys.
So, John, is that the end of our Mad Dashing stuff?
That's it. I want to wish all of our listeners a happy and healthy 2016.
Yes, be safe doing whatever you do for New Year's.
Yes.
I will probably be blowing up many things.
Don't do a Jason Pierre-Paul.
Is that the head guy?
That's the dude that plays for the Giants now that has a club on his hand.
I thought that was the guy who put it on his head and shot a mortar.
Yeah, don't do that guy either.
Yeah. Well, I plan on not doing that, and if you do, we would suggest against it. If you want to get a hold of us, go email us at theboomerandxshow@yahoo.com. Go check out our website, theboomerandxshow.com, and our Twitter at boomerandxshow. And go on ahead and hit us up on Facebook as well while you're at it, the Boomer and X Show. So, John, about all out of words, what you got?
I was out of words about 35 seconds ago.
All right, well, like John said, happy belated Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.